Hello, my name is Rebecca Shoptaw, and I'm the writer, director, producer, cinematographer, and editor, and various other things for all of the films on this channel. A couple months ago, I posted something on Twitter about doing a Q&A, and people sent me lovely questions, and I never actually did it, but I am doing it now. So yeah, here are some questions and some answers to them. What are your influences? I think for directors and films and visual things, it's like Wong Kar-wai is amazing. Moonlight, Sense8 and The Get Down. Yeah. For books, I'd say like David Levithan, Virginia Woolf, George Eliot, of course, and we'll just throw in Shakespeare because of that sonnet movie. Why queer films? It started out as being very much because like representation was really important to me figuring out my own sexuality, and I think that lack of representation was part of what kept me from figuring it out for so long. What I always say is that I'm like trying to make the representation that I wish that I had had. But since then it's become a little bit different. Now that I'm not as dependent on representation, and now that there are more people watching the things that I make, I think it's more about trying to help like fill up that massive gap where like a whole world of queer cinema should be. For me at this point, filmmaking is so much tied to like activism. Like I want to make something that means something to people because of the representation in it. Where do your unique stories come from? This is a little ironic because my stories are so not unique in that they're pretty much all adaptations of things. There are some that are like officially adaptations, like This Will Linger is from David Levithan's novel The Realm of Possibility. Sonnet 23 obviously is from William Shakespeare's sonnet, Sonnet 23. Middlemarch the series from George Eliot's novel Middlemarch. There are some more like indirect adaptations, like adaptations of song lyrics, so that's like To the Invisible Girl from Lily's wonderful song, and A Handful of Stars from Maisie's beautiful, beautiful song. And then the other ones are pretty much all adaptations of like my life or the lives of my friends. And I say adaptations here because it's not like characters in the film stand in for me or my friends or any of that, but more that I'll take something that happened to me or something that happened to one of my friends or something that could have happened to me or could have happened to one of my friends, and I will rework that into a fictional story. How did you know that film stuff was what you wanted to do? This is always tricky because like I don't think that there was one moment that I like realized that it was film that I wanted to do, but I think over time it became more and more the way that I would immediately go to tell stories. And it's also just like I love every part of the process. I just love it all. So I think it was just sort of something that naturally happened over time to the point where now if I want to express something, I just do it through film. Do you have a favorite soundtrack? This is interesting because I don't really listen to a lot of soundtracks. I'd probably have to go with the How to Get Away with Murder soundtrack, actually. Partly just because I stole the Infinite Rose song from it. So, how do you avoid stereotypes in your films, presumably? This is really interesting. It's not something that I think about a lot. Like, I mean, I'm not creating a character and I'm like, how do I make this character not a stereotype? And I think that partly the reason that that happens is that I just start with the story or the concept or some idea that is not just like the character's identity. So like, I feel like if you are making a film and you're like, I'm gonna make it about a gay character, your first few ideas are very cliche about other kinds of stories that people tell about gay characters. But if you start with like, I'm gonna do an adaptation of like a Shakespeare sonnet where one boy has he thinks unrequited crush on another boy and it's really cute, that makes you, I think, less likely to end up relying on a series of like stereotypes and cliches in the way that you tell your story. Also just like, I think just having more characters that have the same or similar identities is very helpful, so that then you don't have one person who's standing in for like all LGBT people. If you could describe your channel/films with a smell, what would it be? I think I'm gonna have to go with violets because that's, I believe, the sapphic flower, and that just feels fitting. This is a hard-hitting question from Ant. How much do you miss me? I think I'd have to say that much. Another hard-hitting question. How are you so amazing? I can't even do that, seriously, I've been trying. There have been many takes. So I have two questions that are pretty similar. Which actors would you like to work with? And do you have any dream cast members to be in something that you create? And it's interesting because like I mean, of course, there are so many famous actors who I'm just like in awe of all the time, but I really can't help thinking practically on this one because there are so many unbelievably amazing actors at this school who I really want to work with before I leave. So I think, like, if you're watching, Gilberto, Tarek, and Ryo, especially if you want to be in anything that I make, please, please be in my films. Thank you. If you had a chance to make a feature film, would it be similar to things that you'd made before or different? Funny thing, I actually am most likely making something along the lines of a feature film next year for my senior thesis. That is going to be quite similar to things that I've made before, sort of like many of my films strung together. Yeah, I mean, I like the idea of trying to figure out how to use my style that I've sort of developed for short films in the context of like a larger feature film. I think that would be really cool. As a student, how do you make time for your films? I haven't had a free weekend this year. So there's that. It just is a matter of making them a priority. Like, class is a thing that I do, and filmmaking is a thing that I do. Any time that I have, and I have film things to do, I will use it to do those things. It's probably just because I really care about it, and I just love it, and I do love every part of the process, so it doesn't feel that much like work, even though it is a lot of work. Kind of along those lines, my answer to the next question, which is, what's the best advice you've ever gotten regarding writing or film? I saw it first as a comic, but it's actually a quote from this amazing speech by Shonda Rhimes. Dreams are lovely. But they are just dreams, fleeting, ephemeral, pretty. But dreams do not come true just because you dream them. It's hard work that makes things happen. It's hard work that creates change. Oh man. So yeah, I think that that's really stuck with me, especially as the work of what I've been working on lately has been getting a lot harder. Just this notion of, instead of just sort of thinking about what you might want to do one day, just doing what you can do today. So yeah, I guess I would just leave with that. Oh, but before I do leave, the release of Middlemarch, the series, is approaching, and it won't actually be on this channel. It's all over on the Middlemarch channel, which you can find here. The first episode will appear very soon. So thank you all so much for the wonderful questions and for watching my films and hopefully watching my web series, and yeah, yeah. Thank you.
Close your eyes.